The political moment that we are in is a crisis. The Supreme Court has made a decision to gut the Voter Rights Act of 1964, 1965. And as a result, state legislatures around the country are redrawing district maps with an abandon. And they're doing it with a desire to wipe out majority black districts and eliminate black Democratic congresspeople. Uh, it is a critical moment in American history, and at the forefront of all of this is Representative Justin J. Pearson, who is running for Congress in Memphis. And his district that he was running in was eliminated by the Tennessee state legislature, and he's had to adjust, and he is leading the charge now against this racist redistricting effort. You're going to enjoy this conversation that I had with Representative Justin J. Pearson from Tennessee. It's a critical one, an important one. So pay attention. Let's go. Our guest today is Representative Justin J. Pearson in Tennessee. Representative Pearson, thank you so much for being with us. It's so good to have you on the show.
I'm so happy to be here with you, even during times like this. I appreciate you, Rob, for everything.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just jump right into it. What is going on in Tennessee?
Yeah, right now we are dealing with the ramifications of white supremacy in our state legislature that has taken away the only black majority district for the United States Congress, which represents most of Memphis and Shelby County, which I was running to serve in. And now they cracked our district into three. And I'm running in the new District 9, which includes now 15 counties instead of just one and a half, which was previously Shelby and half of Tipton County.
Unbelievable. Okay, so this comes on the heels of the Supreme Court decision that gutted the Voter Rights Act. And essentially what it did is it gave state legislatures permission to redraw lines. And some would even say, I heard the governor of Louisiana say, it's not just permission, like he feels compelled, like he has to do it because their district lines are now unconstitutional. So this is coming on the heels of the Supreme Court decision. Did the Tennessee legislature have to do this, or like what's the motivating
Right.
factor in this?
I mean, let's just be real clear. The motivating factor was race, and it has been the whole time. Even recently, the Speaker of the House just kicked all black Democrats off of the committees because he was upset that we protested. We went to the well of the House floor and locked arms together as they were trying to take this vote, and we stood up against their actions. But we have to be really eyes wide open here. This is all happening for two reasons. One is in the wake of the Calais decision by the Supreme Court that you already mentioned, where the court has given implicit permission to states to really justify racism, which is the silencing of minority voices and taking away and stripping away black majority districts. But timing is a big thing here. Typically, the maps get changed once every 10 years after the census. We actually had a state law that said you cannot change districts outside of that 10-year window. We changed that law in order to be able to push forward these maps that Donald Trump was pushing for us to do in our state, that Marsha Blackburn, the U.S. Senator who's running for governor of the state of Tennessee, pushed for us to do in between districts. So we had to change state law to make what would otherwise be illegal, legal, to then take away the only black majority district in our state house because they're trying to steal the midterm election because they're concerned and worried that Donald Trump's positions and is so are so unpopular that he's not going to win.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look historically, in the midterm following a presidential election, when we elect a new Congress 2 years after a presidential election, with almost without exception, the party in power in the White House loses seats in the House of Representatives, and sometimes loses them significantly. We were on track for that to happen, and Democrats to take control of the House of Representatives, possibly the Senate, completely derailing, which would have the effect of derailing Donald Trump's agenda. Rather than winning in the arena of ideas with the American people, uh, what they've decided to do is rig the game and draw these new districts mid-decade, as you said. Like, I mean, it's clear what we're supposed to do. We have a census. We draw the districts. Uh, what's the, what's the path forward? What's the solution to this? This feels like, I know a lot of people feel just like completely powerless with all of this. What do we do?
Yeah, I mean, first, we got to keep sounding the alarm that this is deleterious to the idea of a democracy and this constitutional democratic republic experiment. Gerrymandering is bad on every front, and we
Yes.
all need to advocate against the use of gerrymandering, no matter our political party. We need national, nonpartisan redistricting, point
Yes.
blank and period. That needs to
Yes.
be federal legislation that gets pushed, particularly by the Democratic Party,
Yeah.
as one of the core tenets of who we are, in order
That's
that
right.
we have more fair representation all across the country, and that it
Yes.
isn't wavering based on political preferences,
Yeah.
which will change because the pendulum always swings back, right? That's a fact. So that's one thing we have to advocate for. The second
Hmm.
thing, we have to sound the alarm on what is happening in the South right now. This is the rise of the neo Confederacy in the South, and we are seeing white supremacy doing what it does, which is take power, steal power, even if it has to, in order to be able to take over and control the voices and communities that they otherwise would not be able to win over because their arguments aren't beneficial to us. And the third thing is we have to keep running. Even though they're trying to rig the maps, our message is right. In
Hmm.
rural communities and urban communities, people are suffering from the actions of billionaires who are more concerned about their wealth and their power and their prestige than your life. In the state of Tennessee, we have the highest medical debt of any state in the United States of America. We need universal health care for all. We need to increase wages to $25 an hour. We need to hold corporations and these CEOs accountable for skyrocketing drug prices that continue to make it hard for people to be able to live. We need to invest in our veterans, stop these billionaires from building these data centers that pollute our water, that pollute our air, that are taking the land in our community. We have solidarity with communities that they don't think we have solidarity with. And we
Yeah.
have to have strong messengers to be able to take that message into communities that we may not otherwise typically be in. And I think that is how we stay focused on the future and on forward. And that's why we continue to run for Congress, because they thought they were rigging the map and there was no way for us to win. Instead, there's a way for us to win, and there's a way for us to build solidarity with communities we otherwise would not. That is going to have positive ramifications for gubernatorial races, positive ramifications for U.S. Senate races as we look ahead.
Yeah. Tell us about your race in particular, because it's changed pretty significantly now, right? You
Yeah.
were challenging a Democratic incumbent, and that that poses, begs a whole bunch of questions about, there's people that aren't fond of that happening, there being Democratic primaries. I happen to be someone who believes in Democratic primaries. Um, but so what does your race look like now, and how has that adjusted your strategy, your approach, and what's the impact of this decision on your race in particular?
Yeah, I mean, my opponent in our original District 9 race said this was the most competitive primary he's had in 20 years. That's how hard we were running,
Yeah.
right? Over 250 events across the district. We've raised and had more contributors to our campaign in the last 8 months than he's had in all 20 years of being in office, right? Like we were putting up and mounting a very significant challenge, and with the likelihood that we were going to win this August, and the momentum really shifting on our side because people realize, it's time.
Yeah.
We can be appreciative of what people have done for 20, 30, 40 years, but there comes a moment where you recognize that this is a different political moment. If
Hmm.
you grew up with a political understanding when John F. K. was president of the United States, it's very different now. Things are
Yeah.
very different now. And you have to have people who can speak to this moment and to the future that we're building together and not just thinking about the past, right? And
Hmm.
so I don't take corporate PAC money He
Yeah.
takes corporate PAC money. I don't trade and sell stocks, and I'm not worth like $10 million. He's the richest elected official in the city of Memphis, right? Like
Hmm.
there's some stark differences here in how we govern and what we believe. And I think that's what the Democratic Party really has to grapple with.
Hmm.
Who do we want to be?
Yes.
Are we the multimillionaires who aren't proximate to our communities anymore? Or are we the people who lift up working class values, who
Yeah.
support building a multiracial, multi ethnic movement for justice rooted in love? Do we continue to take corporate PAC money and be beholden to them? Or do we try and change the systems that we know are killing people
Yeah.
and literally making it harder for them to be alive? And I think in our the district that is through racist redistricting has been redrawn, that message still resonates.
Yeah.
People are sick and tired of being told they're supposed to look to their left and right to find their enemy instead of looking up and looking at who's being stepped on at the bottom,
Yeah.
right? Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, Donald Trump, these folks are profiting off of the pain that our communities are experiencing. They're profiting off of the rural hospitals that are closing. They're getting more money because they're able to keep your wages at $7.25, and they're destroying the environment while making billions of dollars from data centers like the one that Kevin O'Leary was able to push through in Utah, right?
Hmm.
To the detriment of the millions of people who rely on those natural resources to be able to survive. And so we just got to articulate our message. And in this race, I mean, the biggest difference is instead of having, 1.5 counties that I'd be traveling to, I've now got to go to 15 counties. But
Yeah.
we're going to go to those 15 counties because there are disaffected voters there. There are
Mm.
black voters who haven't voted in a long time. There are working class people who felt left out and lonely in the political process. And we're going to bring a voice. We're going to bring some inspiration and some motivation that this is not how our story has to end, that we are still in this fight for this democracy and that we can win this race.
Yeah. Yeah. Representative Pearson, you are not new to controversy. You're someone who's been in the news that people around the country know because of your work in the Tennessee House. Uh, I'm curious on a personal level, like how do you deal with the controversy, the misunderstandings, the opposition? I mean, you're one of these people that you know, there's like iconic photos of. I saw one I think last week of you face to face with a security agent in the Tennessee State Senate. You know what? How, how do you how do you find motivation? How do you find uh, courage, the will to keep going when there is so much opposition to you? I'm on a personal level. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, well, I've got a few things that help me. One, I've got a faith, right? I practice Christianity, and my faith in God
Mm,
is my source of strength and power. My belief that the government lynched Jesus and Jesus overcame the world, right?
mm,
Like that's good news for people who are oppressed, for persecuted people, people persecuted by the government in particular. That resurrection is still a possibility and is
mm,
still what we have to look towards. And I think a resurrecting of our democracy, a resurrecting of our future, a resurrecting of our potential in this country is what we have to keep at our forefront as we
yeah.
march on, as we press on, as we work on. And I'm going to Selma and Montgomery this weekend because we have to be reminded of that resurrecting power. The
Mm,
second is my family. I
yeah.
got the most amazing wife, Oceanae Argillian Pearson. I got my parents, Dr. Kimberly Owens Pearson, Reverend Jason C. Pearson, my brother, Keyshawn. It's like we have a very strong family network who keeps showing up, and
Mm,
they hold me up. When I'm down, they call me in the morning. They send text messages. There's just so much love that I have been inculcated in throughout my life, but
mm,
particularly in this life in politics that is made carrying the burdens and dealing with the barriers and dealing with the racism and the bigotry and the hate, quite literally, of other people. Yeah, I bear that better because I have such a strong family network of aunties, both biological and communal,
mm,
that remind me that I am loved, that I'm a child of God, that we're on the right side of history. And those things are really important. And those little comments that people make in posts saying, look, we're rooting for you, keep going, that makes a difference
yeah.
because there's so much hate out in the world. And what we are trying to push is a vision of love, which is the third thing, right? So I've got faith, I've got family, and then we have the future.
Mm,
That's what we're fighting for.
Yeah.
Rob, like ultimately, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about my nephew's sons. It's about our children's children's children, right? And what world
Yeah.
they're going to inhabit. What nation, if there be a nation, will they live in? And when they look back and they say, what did my family do?
Yeah.
Will we be like those who say my family were oppressors and enslavers? Or will we be those who say my family were abolitionists, they were advocates, they fought on behalf of the Union, they worked to preserve the ideal of this nation, and so they talked and they organized and they ran for office and they stood up against
Yeah.
injustice. And I believe that's the future that I want those kids who I will never meet, right? Those
Yeah.
descendants who I will never know. I want them to know that they come from a family who resisted tyranny with all that we had.
Yeah. Ah, so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Running for office is weird. It it is
It's one way to put
unusual.
it.
It is an unusual, difficult thing that, I mean, people. I always ask this to guests on the show, like, give people like a little sense of what it's like to actually run for office, because it's not like what you see on the West Wing. It's like so
No.
different from that. Like what surprises you? I mean, you've been at this a little bit, but what surprises you about running for office? What little insight could you give for people that
Sure.
might want to understand what it's actually like to do this?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you've really got to be called to run for
Mm.
office, right? Because the level of critique and the level of energy, I mean, it is like your whole life, right, is up for the world
Oh,
to
well,
digest and critique and to
yeah.
say is wrong. And
Well, I will tell you,
it's tough.
there is a raging debate in the comments section of
Hmm.
all of my social media, um, and it's whether I am an idiot
Hmm.
or fat. Those, like,
Yeah.
that's the like that. Yeah.
Listen, I've got a new one. It's stuff I haven't even heard of. They've got this buckwheat thing. They
Oh.
call me Q-tip.
Oh.
They say cut your hair. I'm just like, you can't have it all, folks. Like, which one do you want? Like, which one do you want? It's just like it's just the level of stupidity. But
Yeah.
I've started to think about it this way. All of it helps the algorithm, Rob. It's like that's
Yes.
it. You're
Yes.
helping my
That's
algorithm. More people are seeing
yes.
it,
Yes.
more comments, more attention, more awareness, and it'll
Yeah.
get to the people who really need it. But I
Yeah.
do think those comments show up and you
Mhm.
try not to engage with them and things like that, but it can and it
Yeah.
does have
Yeah.
an impact, which is why when I see my supporters coming back full steam ahead saying, no, he's been doing this since he was 15,
That's
fighting
right.
for textbooks, he took on billion-dollar corporations like Elon Musk and Plains All American, defending our community. I'm just like, yes, we have done good work.
Yeah.
We have been at this much longer than they've been in the comments, and it's
Yeah.
much easier to be a hater than it is to be somebody who's trying to be a solver of real problems, which people like you and me,
Yeah.
that's what we're seeking to do.
Yep.
But honestly, I think in this moment in time, for people to realize first, people who are running for office are human beings,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
We are human beings. We have families. We have friends. I've got two dogs, right? We have lives that need caring for, and protecting. And in a day, right, I will typically spend several hours making phone calls trying to raise money for our campaign because I'm not independent wealthy like my opponents. My current opponent in the Democratic Party is worth $10 million. My likely opponent in the Republican Party in our new district is worth millions of dollars. He gave himself $1 million for this campaign. So I'm having to do a grassroots. I think our average
Hmm.
donation is like $17, but many hours go to just being on the phone trying to raise
Yep.
money. Several hours dedicated to trying to get our message out there, doing media, making posts, making videos so people understand what's at stake in these elections. And then several hours go to, I want to be out in the community, right? I've
Hmm.
had 250 events roughly since October 8th. So I want to go out there. So every day I'm going to a senior center. I'm going to a veterans home. I'm going to a community center. I'm going to a college. I'm going to a high school to meet
Yep.
with kids to talk about voting. So every day is action packed.
Yeah.
And the hard thing is, right, the work is finding time for my mom, my dad, my
Yeah.
brothers, my amazing wife. Like that's the work to make sure that that isn't secondary, but that
Yeah.
we make that a priority part of the campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah, and it's balancing, like, the events, and where people know who you are and want to shake your hand, and then you come home and you gotta fix dinner and do
Yeah.
laundry and walk the
Take out the
dogs,
trash.
all the yes, all the normal things. And I had, going back to the comment section, someone called me Fatty Arbuckle, which just made us laugh so hard. My 21-year-old daughter now, well, I guess she's 22 now. My 22-year-old daughter,
Mhm.
she now calls me Fatty Arbuckle. That's that's her name for me. She just thought it was so funny. Well, Justin, we ask people that are running for office
Yeah.
to use the common good as their governing criteria if they're elected. When you hear a phrase like the common good, I'm curious how it resonates with you, what that means to you, and the kind of congressperson that you will be.
Yeah, I really love that because my college that I attended was Bowdoin College, and one of the core tenets and principles of Bowdoin was to do things on behalf of the common good. We literally
Mm,
had something called the Common Good Grant Center, and I served on the board helping to give out grants to local nonprofits. And so when I think about common good, it really is deeply meaningful. Is why I actually chose the college that I went to, because it is about serving people above yourself.
mm,
It's about finding ways to meet the needs of the majority of people who are downcast, downtrodden, who have been deprived of access to opportunities and resources, and serving them. And legislating not from the perspective of privilege, but legislating from the perspective of those who have been denied access to opportunity and to the privileges that many other people have had. And so when I think about that with the common good, it's everybody should be doing better. And
mm.
when I think about all of the blessings that I've had in my life, to get to the point where I am. How do we duplicate that, replicate that for more people, millions of people to be able to have it? That's what I'm after.
Yeah.
That's the future that we have to make happen. And you got some people who want to keep their privilege all to themselves, keep their opportunity all to themselves. But I'm like, no, 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 no. How do we make all of the things that made you successful? How do we make that for everybody?
Yeah.
That's what we need to be doing and working toward.
Yes. Yes. I so often think about the late Paul Wellstone, who said, "We all do better when we all do better," and like
Yeah,
that's what it is, right? Like it's this, it's not about the privileged few; it's about all of us, and we're
that's
in
right.
this thing together. Yeah. Well, how can people find you if they want to follow your
Mhm.
campaign? They want to support your campaign as a grassroots candidate. They want to take a stand against what's happening in the gerrymandering and the redistricting that's taking place in Tennessee
Mhm.
and other places. Supporting your campaign was a strong message that the American
Mhm.
people are not okay with this. How can
That's
people
right.
find you? How can they donate? How does all that work for you?
Yeah, we need everyone to go to votejustinj.com, votejustinj.com. You can sign up there, you can donate there. We've got a petition as well for you to sign to defend District 9. Please help us in this moment. Next week, we're going to be rolling out an action plan of activity that people will be able to do from anywhere in the country, whether that's phone banking, writing letters, sending messages out. We need support, and we already do have thousands of people have already signed up to volunteer since all of this has begun. And so we need all the support because it's going to take a powerful, love-oriented army of justice seekers to help us to win this race. But we know we can do it. But go to votejustinj.com and let's do this together.
Yeah. Well, count us in as a part of those common do-gooders who are behind you and on your side. Representative Justin J. Pearson, thank you so much for being on the show. Keep up the good work, and we're behind you 100%.
Thank you so much. Let's keep fighting together.